across the world. Erol Morkoc is a Republican strategist and spokesperson for the Republicans Overseas UK, and he joins you live now. Erol, thank you for taking the time. Just before we talk a bit about whether this is going to pass, gloss up for us what the big, beautiful bill is. Good morning.
Good morning, and that's quite the question. They took about 15 hours to read it out loud, so to summarize
less than
it, quite difficult. Yeah. Look, I think a lot of it is looking at, on the broad brush, you can look at the campaign promises President Trump made and the sectors he made those promises to. You see Elon Musk and the EV people very upset because he's cutting back on the EV mandates, and he's giving tax breaks and those benefits to what you could call traditional industry, whether that be steel or coal or hydrocarbon energy. On the other side, you see the no tax on tips. A lot of the promises he made to the working class that they might get lost in the weeds with a lot of the bigger numbers out there, but that's a real tangible benefit to smaller people in the global game here. And then you also have to look at the fact that we have to balance this hope and change sort of rhetoric that comes out of every kind of political movement with social functionalism. And just as Barack Obama found a lot of difficulties to push forward his progressive agenda, Donald Trump has a different type of progressive agenda that also is pushing up against the fact of the matter that we've run a huge deficit. We're $36 trillion in debt, and cutting and austerity just is not going to be the way, despite the fact that the conservatives have always pitched themselves as fiscal conservatives. They're not. They haven't been since the last century. And they've basically doubled down on the premise, which is not really a Make America Great premise that they had originally promised, that they're going to try to grow their way out of this debt. In the middle of all of that, we have the maelstrom that is occurring today.
And what's the likelihood, Erol, that this will pass, the big, beautiful bill?
So here's sort of the silver lining for the Trump supporter out there. This will probably pass only because if you look at it from basic game theory, the amount of political capital that's on the line right now for the Republicans, considering Donald Trump probably having the best 2 weeks of his entire presidency, including the first term in the last couple of weeks, and sort of the momentum they're on, it really doesn't behoove anybody to allow this to fail. Now, this is going to come down to the wire. There's going to be a lot of tears before bedtime, a lot of people who aren't going to be happy with the spending and where the cuts are going. And that's on both sides. You have Republican senators who are like Murkowski in Alaska, who are very much against any cuts that would hurt people on Medicaid in her state because of rural situations. So you have so many contentious situations. But in this case, I think you're going to get it passed because of the power that Donald Trump has brought to the situation and that he's delivered so well for the party. I think that they're going to get all their ducks in a row. It's not going to be the bill that the American people ever want. It never is. But it is going to be at least in the right direction of where Donald Trump sees this going. And hopefully, if we can pull ourselves out of this situation, maybe a better, new, beautiful bill can come around and we can talk about that one again.
Even bigger and even more beautiful, perhaps.
More beautiful, yes.
Even bigger than before. Now, Elon Musk has criticised the bill and said that he will campaign against every Republican who votes against it. It's tricky, isn't it? How much political capital will this cost Mr. Trump, particularly in terms of the criticism of Elon Musk?
Well, it's an interesting situation. Elon Musk is in many ways a class traitor 3 times over across whatever group he works with. And so he doesn't have the loyalty that perhaps beyond his fans in business and whatnot. He doesn't have the loyalty that Donald Trump has. Additionally, there's a great quote back when John Rockefeller thought he bought President Roosevelt. And he basically said, we bought the guy, used a more pejorative term than that, but he didn't stay bought. And that's the same situation that I've always said about President Trump and Elon Musk. They were, birds of a feather when they had aligned objectives, but it's a free country. And Elon Musk was never really a traditional Trumpian person. He just saw the better of two offerings. And I think Elon has an interest in opening his own political party, pushing that. He knows how much he can do with his with the U.S. dollar and funding, but he's going to go up against Donald Trump, who has $1.5 billion in his own war chest set up for this primary, which could set off just one of the most wild midterm campaigns that you would ever see in America. But I do think that Elon will get on board with Donald Trump eventually because he has bigger contracts than Tesla. SpaceX and these sort of defense contracts, these are priceless. And this is what, we need people like Elon, especially when he's the only person who can get our astronauts out of the space station and whatnot. Just as Donald Trump also is needed by Elon Musk. So I think they'll come to a working agreement, but Elon's not going to back down at all. He certainly is upset. He put a lot of his money on the line and he feels betrayed.
You don't think that, I mean, I just wonder, Errol, if Musk does go up against the GOP and decide that that's what he's going to do, it could mean a different era in conservative politics in America.
Oh, yeah, it would be a totally different era, and it would be something that I think would probably be a good thing. I mean, a lot of the situations we have in this country are due to this two-party system. And I'm not saying that we want to have, something like in Italy where there's like 70 political parties and you have no idea what's going on. But the idea that we couldn't have a functional third party, I mean, I'm saying this as a Republican, is kind of bizarre. And if it takes somebody like Elon, who does seem to be a moderate individual, to kickstart that, who knows? It could be a better thing for the country, and it would also change. I mean, the Republican Party, once Trump is gone too, is going to be a completely different animal. Trump came in, took this party over, changed it, changed the makeup. We're the party of the working class now, the union voter, and the union voter is antithetical to Elon Musk. So it's a very interesting dichotomy. We'll see how it plays out.
Now, just finally, in his first term, Trump had similar issues with the repeal. It was the Affordable Care Act, wasn't it? Well, I think John McCain voted against the president, which signified that the Senate wouldn't necessarily go along with the president. So it set a precedent for the president. How can we interpret this vote now?
Well, I think in this vote, one of the key differences is Donald Trump came in that first term as a complete outsider. His own party didn't like him, and most of the senators were against him. Now, those voices of dissent are few and far between, and they don't carry the same weight as the late Senator McCain did in that situation. I do think that it bodes much better for Donald Trump in this situation. His detractors do have good arguments and good points also, who are in the Republican Party, and he listens to them. He takes calls from both sides, from the fringe, from the center, from the more progressive wing. So I think he's being the deal maker he is, and the amount of goodwill and success he's driven in the last couple of weeks, I do believe the Senate will come around him in a way that they did not in the first term.
Errol, really, really good talking to you. Thank you for your insights. That was Erol Morkoc, Republican strategist and spokesperson for the Republican Overseas UK. And hopefully you'll hear more from him in the days and weeks to come here at LBC around about this time of day. The big